Good evening. I'm Dr. Jackie Woldering, and I'm PPC member 2864 back from the early PPC days, 1978 or so. And during the summer of 2011, I was cleaning out my basement, thinking about how I could downsize several collections of documents I had. Some of these could be eliminated, some of them could be scanned, but others would have to be kept in their original form. I knew what to do with the ones that I could dispose of, and I knew what I could do with the ones that I could scan, but throw away what I could do with the ones that I had to keep. But what about the ones that could be scanned? I went through the after searching the net, I found out that almost all the documents pertaining to Hewlett-Packard calculators, which I collected since 1974, had already been scanned by Jake Schwartz and put together in a single DVD, including 14 years of Richard Nelson's PPC calculator journals. So I was looking at this and saying, how could I put this together in a form that would be a little more usable, a little more presentable, and so forth. And my first thought was how to solve a problem. This was pages from the PPC journal with barcodes could be pages from the original PPC barcodes could be scanned, rescanned at higher resolution, but that seemed like a band-aid approach. The original journal barcodes were sometimes difficult to read when they were scanned, unless you had original code, and even in some cases on the original code, I found out I would get to barcode line 35, and there would be no ability to scan beyond that point. So I tried testing the scans. I tried working through at 600, even at 600 dpi, the scans were not as reliable as I wanted. Some of this came from, again, the original barcode not being correct, but other problems came from the paper not being exactly aligned with scan. So if I didn't scan it exactly 100% and print it out and test it and so forth, I was going to get unreliable code. So I was looking at some alternatives. What about cleaning up and reproducing the barcode? I could try something like MS Paint. Well, that was not going to work. That was a pretty tedious way to do things. Certainly impossible in terms of time. What about scanning the original PPC, the original code, barcode from the journals, and then finding a way to print them in a more readable format? Well, that wasn't a bad idea, but that was limited to only those journals where barcode was already available. So I looked at the 1981 HP book entitled How to Creating Your Own HP Barcode. And I saw the small black bars and the checksums and physical specifications and so on. Once the barcodes were read from the original journal, they'd go into an HP-41CX. But then how do I move that data from the calculator to some other more readable medium? So I took the approach of getting an old HPIL interface and the HP-82-164A, which were, sorry, the 82-164A was the serial interface, and I worked with the HP-41, and I also had to put together the HPIL interface, excuse me, that's the one, the HPIL interface, and find my own interface to the laptop, which was a USB style interface. Going into the laptop, then, I found that the old Hyper terminal program, Hyper TRM, was a reasonable alternative, and that was built into Windows. So I did some experimenting, and I found that Out A worked with this setup. So at least I was able to put together some printing of the programs, not the programs, I'm sorry, but just at least get alpha strings out of the program. So I was able to test the hardware and realize that it worked at that point. So here I gave some thought to a form in which to store and later display the program, and how to make sure that each of the parts could be read by a maximum number of calculator or emulator configurations. Also, what programs would make good candidates for this treatment? I went back to the earliest 41C programs, volume 6, number 4 in July 1979, which were programs for Chebyshev polynomials, random numbers, and the standard normal distribution curve. Each of these routines was no more than a few lines and provided a nice test bed. It was not too difficult to type each of these programs into the computer, convert it from text to RAM, and use the raw and the DAT files then to put that together. I'm sorry, I missed an entire page there. Oh boy. Excuse me. So after working with Out A, experimenting with Out A, I tried to redirect write P, WRTP, and PRP to the serial interface. But the video interface would do that, so would a printer, but not the serial interface. So the program itself, if I had put it out in printer format, would not be too useful. So I ended up looking into some other tools. The 82.183 extended functions, I/O functions module was the answer to some of this. And that is, I was able to do a hexadecimal format that was able to be converted then into barcode. The OUT-P and the INP functions were then the solution for sending and receiving. With the HP-41CX and then an 82.153A barcode wand and the HPIL interface, an extended I/O module and the serial interface, plus the USB to serial interface to get to my computer, I was now able to capture barcoded programs and transmit them back and forth between the calculator and the computer. So after all this experimentation, I felt that the setup was still limited to bailing out the barcoded programs and saving them each in hexadecimal format. So now I would have to learn how to format the barcodes. So I went back to the HP-41 Creating Your Own Barcodes book. There's a program in here called PRGMBR, and that's from Byte Publications. It's on page 17 to 31. It described how to do this translation in about 825 lines of code. I looked at that, and that seemed like an awful lot of work for what I was doing. So the next possibility, I was thinking of taking the format for the program type barcodes. That was on page 1, figure 1, page 8, along with the physical specifications of the barcode, and figure 6, page 13, and then a 1 byte end-around carry and the running checksum from page 53, and the flow chart for the header algorithms on page 49, and write my own program. But instead I started saying, well, even that looked like a formidable task, so how about looking on the net, seeing if I could find something else that would work. So after several attempts and false starts, I found Warren Furlow's www.hp41.org site, and on it they had a HP-41 user code utility. That was the this program was found, I found by hunting for HP-41 barcode printing, then following a discussion and explanation and so forth. It wasn't an easy one to find, unfortunately. That was kind of hard to pick out of there. But the most important thing was this HP-41UC by Leo Duran was able to convert between user code formats, compiles and decompiles user code, and most importantly, it generated barcode. As that was exactly what I needed to produce the program and the barcode. Oops. A couple of slides there, but see if I can catch up. The Duran's program translates between 4 important formats for use. There's a /T or a text format, which is the program as you'd see it printed on a printer or a video display with the line numbers and the commands. Certain characters such as sigma, angle sign, and equal sign, not equal sign, I'm sorry, have to be translated into a special symbol. There's a few anomalies with XROM numbers and so forth, but for the most part, this is a line-numbered program. So the program can be entered without line numbers, I found out later, to even save a little more typing, and then go back and convert, adding the line numbers to the original text format. The /R or raw format is the program in its binary form exactly as you'd load it into the calculator. So this can be used on an emulator as well as the original HP-41C calculator. Warren's V41 emulator works quite well in that case. And then the /D is useful for DAT format, and that is the raw file with each byte translated into a pair of hexadecimal characters, hexadecimal digits. So the text file also contains leading number of bytes and a trailing checksum for a total of 6 extra bytes beyond 2 times the size of the file, the raw file plus 6 extra bytes. And then finally the barcode printable, there's 2 choices in there. There's a /H, which is Hewlett-Packard PCL format, and /S, which is a Postscript file. I looked at both of those and I found that the Hewlett-Packard PCL format produced large, virtually unreadable files, but the Postscript format was very easy to modify and was worth using, and it was easily altered, and you could combine text along with the barcode commands to form a complete package. So with HP-41C, I realized that the codes could not only be scanned, but we could also send the code could be scanned in, sent to the computer as a DAT file, and then reproduced as a PS file to be scanned in later by the HP-41C1. This
Get that out from underneath it.
this ability to type in the text file made this very easy to enter rather than having to type it in through a 41 as we originally had to do and pick out the codes and try to spell out commands that weren't available to you directly on the keyboard. So I thought about the form. I said, how would I like this programs to look once they came out? How would I like this to go together? So I saw that it wasn't too difficult. I could type the programs in, and I could convert the original text into a raw format, from there to a .dat format, and then from there to the PS files, and then print the output. So there's a /K option when you're doing the raw format that allows you to print as small a file as you can. And then when you change back to the text format with Duran's program, you use a /N, and that will add the line numbers. So next I looked and said I could store the information as a text file, and then the runnable program in binary format, and then I could store the barcode in Postscript. But this would be kind of messy, 3 different file formats, and if I were to adjust something, change it, I'd have to go and change each format separately and recompile and so forth. So I'd rather put this all into one document if I could, just to save the amount of storage and the number of different files and so forth. So looking at all of this, I found PDF Creator, which was available from the www.sourceforge.net. The PDF Creator is very useful in that it's a free program, and you can use it to print out PDF documents without having to buy the expensive Adobe package, full Adobe package. Just be careful when you install it. It likes to install some extra programs that maybe you don't want. So toolbars and associated stuff that you may not want. Just tell it you don't want those. After I realized that then the DAT format would be a reasonable substitute for the raw file, I realized I could put everything into one text package. So I studied the Postscript files as they were output by HP-41UC, and then I discovered that each page started with a page number. Each one contained location information, along with the information with a move to command, a left parentheses, line content, and so forth. So the PS mechanics of this looked a little bit like you see here with, again, page number, right parentheses, line numbers to each page. I could put about 70 lines on each page, and these were in an 8.5 by 11 letter size format. The numbering goes from about 740 at the top to about 550 at the bottom. It's numbered from top to bottom. And then the vertical positioning of, the horizontal positioning about 50 on the left-hand side gave me a total of half-inch margins all around the page. And about a 10-page Courier or non-proportional font, if you use that, it will allow you to align the text in columns nicely. So this is, in order to put this together, I needed to add some other meta information from the Postscript formatting. And I thought about doing it from a program, possibly from putting together, but this looked like it was unnecessarily involved. So I thought about this again and said an Excel spreadsheet could do an easy job of this. In this case, I created a spreadsheet then that had the information for the Postscript file that I needed here, including the startup information, the creator, the document size, pages, and so forth, comment, prologue, and end. It didn't need really a prologue here. And then a gsave command page. And then in the middle here, this column A and column C contained the information I needed. Column B was where I dropped the lines of the program. And then the program, the column D combined A, B, and C into a single Postscript document that I could then copy and paste in with the barcode portion of the program. So the other considerations I wanted to know, I thought about how to format the DAT file. That's stored as one continuous string of text. And instead here, I broke this up into columns of 50. The DAT file being the representation, the hexadecimal digit representation of the raw file that is moved into the calculator. This is the same thing that's produced also by OutP if you produce it out of the 41. Total number of bytes, and the actual program looks something like this. I added headers to the top of each program. Okay, I made another Excel spreadsheet, and that was to help with the relocating the barcode. This one's a little more colorful, but this was used in order to relocate some barcode lines. As the barcode came out, it would always start at the top of each page. So in some cases, it was nice if I had something that ended at 450, for example, I could then just renumber some of these down here, and I could get an extra, I could put, say, what is it, 7 or 8 columns, or 7 or 8 barcode rows onto a page and save a little paper if you're printing them out. After all this, then I started the real grunt work. That is, I talked to Jake Schwartz back in August of 2011, and I said, had anyone ever produced text copies of the PPC programs? And I mentioned the difficulties of reading the barcodes from the scanned copies. He said, nope, he never heard of anybody doing that task, and it would be a particularly hard one. So we spoke again about a year later when I sent him over 550 files covering the first 3.5 years of the PPC journal. And that is from volume 6, number 4, back in July '79, to volume 9, number 8, the end of December 1982. These are all indexed with hyperlinks. This page is from the 1979. So I put in page numbers, volume number, page, the name of the program, the month and the year, the author as best, and the PPC number as best I could find it, again for nostalgic reasons. And then this select down here is a direct link to the program itself in that form that I showed you earlier, with barcode appended at the end. So Jake's had a chance to look at these files and has suggested a method of incorporating them into his disk, which would allow a seamless integration and navigation between his scanned copies of the PPC journal and the individual programs. where he has a blue indicator taking you from his front page of his journal to an article. He'll have red boxes around the articles or the programs themselves, which will then take you to these programs.
Yeah, it's all in it.
Once you've navigated to that page, then you can examine the program in a consistent, neat format. You know, no more needing to squint to try to figure out too light thermal paper. How many times have you seen that? You get to a certain point in a program, you're typing in, and you say, I can't read that because it's too light, and it's what did they say here? Was that store M or store N? And you'd have to go back and fix that. Inconsistent, sometimes handwritten code, things like that. So then, if you want to use the file further, you copy the DAT file from the PDF into a notepad, just eliminate the carriage returns, and you can use Leo Duran's program then to convert that to a RAW if you want to use it in an emulator form. Also, there's many different ways to move things into the calculators. The way I did it was the serial interface is one way. Another is to use the USB pillbox. Another way is the HP-41C PC to HPIL interface, if anybody still has one of those. Another way is to use the data disks. The LIF utility is useful for this. Or you can just print out the pages with the barcode and scan them if you've got a barcode reader. That's the easiest way. It's nice big barcode, and it's very easy to read. I haven't had any problems yet working with those. I've included a small program at the end of, this is actually in the documentation that you have on your flash drive. And it's a small program called Print. It's based on a program that I used with this to move the information through the serial interface. And I also had a copy of, included in the documentation, I don't have it up here, but it's of a barcode table, a wand byte barcode table that I took from volume 7, number 6, page 23. This was one I reproduced from. Cleaned up the barcodes and so forth. So it was. This one was a little more difficult. I had to use MS Paint on these. A little slow. Okay, anyway, Jake had asked me, why not just scan the PPC journals, and why not just scan them using OCR software? He's been asked many times, why don't you just scan it with OCR software, have a text-based document with an index? And truthfully, I skipped this step entirely, and I've just typed in every one of the programs pretty much by hand. At this point, with the exception, I scanned a few of them from barcode, and then I went to used INP to bring the program in and then print it out again. So the problem again with scanning, there were so many different fonts, and it was almost impossible to get the information pulled together from that. At this point, I've finished volume 10, number 4, which is May of 1983. I've done 33 out of 75 different editions of the PPC journal. So at this rate, I might be able to complete the task in another 1 to 2 years. It was taking me about 15 months to spare time. So if there's anybody who is interested in helping or wants to, has some 41 equipment or just is willing to type in programs or help out with that, that would that'd be most helpful. But it's not very glamorous, but I could use some help. I've given you copies of what's been completed so far through volume 10, number 4 on the PPC PPC flash drive, conference flash drive. So if you need to email me, you can send me email, Jackie at cis.csuohio.edu, if anybody can help out or do anything along these lines. Again, this has been a job. It's been a tedious job, but it's provided much learning about the HP-41C, the regular synthetic code, modules, peripheral techniques, spreadsheets, Postscript, barcodes, the putting together the PPC ROM, which is kind of all in there in the first 2 or 3 years of the journal. And I hope the results will make the HP-41 a more useful tool for everyone. Yes?
How long does it take you to convert a single article?
A single a program, I mean, if it's a 20, 30 line program, it takes about 10 minutes to type it in and about another 20 minutes to set it up maybe and put it together. So it's not very long. If you're talking about something a little more serious, like a 500 line program or something, it may take me an hour or two to type it in, and then, but it still doesn't take that long once it is correct and in there, unless I sit there and annotate it. And I've done that with a couple of the programs. Some of them I added because I annotated a little more because I wanted to have some additional information available about them. It was a particular subject I was interested in, like barcode printing or the serial interface or something like that, where I wanted to have a little extra information to go back to. But typically, the typing is probably the most of the time, and then just I go through, verify it, make sure it's correct, and then the conversion time is a similar process each time. It's probably 15 minutes after that. Yeah, again, sorry, it's not a real exciting topic, but I'm hoping the results will be useful to a lot of people. So, thank you.
Thank you.